Hello, I'm Avanish Naik, host of this Convocast. I have some bad news. We recorded an incredible episode, but there is no video. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. We checked on it, and it won't be a problem from the next episode. But unfortunately, for this episode, there is no video. But I will still urge you to watch or listen to this if you want to listen to it on Spotify. It's also on Spotify. But also, if you are, it will help us if your view gets on our YouTube channel. So I would also request you to just keep it on, and just listen. We talked about how a movie name, Marathi movie name, was changed due to again religious purposes, and what it means for the larger picture of censorship. We also talked about a legend of advertising who we lost, unfortunately, this week. Who he was, what he meant, and what were his famous works that we all remember. So, fun episode, incredible episode. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you. And I apologize again for not having the video. On to the episode. Hello and welcome to Navigating Convocast, a weekly show where we discuss about how what we consumed and what we talked about affects our lives, and there is something more to ads, movies, and social media content and whatever that we consume.
I'm
Hello.
fine. How are you?
That was a very professional how are you from you for the first time. But
Because I'm drinking black coffee like my manager, and I thought it would be better if I was a bit
yeah.
professional.
So
I think
people
he misses office after Diwali
No,
holidays.
that's why I was clarifying. He did not mean his manager. He meant Manchester United's manager, Ruben Amorim. He drinks black coffee. So you need context.
Right.
And
I
again, context is so important. All right. So we have a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about my points. But there was sad news for the copywriting world that Vedant shared. And unfortunately, I have to say, I have no idea about this person. So Zui will let us know who he is, what happened, and also give us some pointers on why he was such an important person in your industry.
Yeah, so yesterday Piyush Pandey passed away. He was, very famously called the architect of Indian advertising, and a lot of ads that we really admire have been admiring for years now, even since we were children. Since our parents, started watching ads, Piyush Pandey has been a huge contribution to them. If some ads that if you want to just reminisce on it, we know that Zuzu's was a thing long back. All of the Zuzu ads were made by Piyush Pandey. It was his concept. He wrote for all of them. A lot of Cadbury ads were made by him. Fevicol's ads, which we really loved. The one where the bus is going through a desert and a lot of people are just clinging on to it.
Yeah.
Those ads were made by Piyush Pandey. So a lot of ads like those where the jingle was so good that it sticks to your head and you still hum to the tune of that song. Those ads were usually made by Piyush Pandey because he started with that. He used to when before he passed away, he used to work in Ogilvy as a consultant for some time, and he was a part of the Ogilvy family for a long time. So yeah,
Uh,
it was a
Yeah.
sad day
And
yesterday for him.
another thing I read was the Abki Bar Modi Sarkar campaign was also his that tagline, which
mm.
basically
Yeah, a lot of taglines actually. So many taglines that we know today, which we just know that this tagline works for this brand. This is exactly what
yeah.
those taglines were wrote by Piyush Pandey. He was a magic. He had a magic with words, and he was really known for his Hindi writing more than English. He was a magician with writing Hindi scripts and lines.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just had a question. Like, what do you think enables someone to create something that people remember? And like, what do you do? Because you also work in the advertising industry.
Yeah. So I'll talk about Piyush Pandey first because this is the topic. I had read a lot about him, not enough, I think, but a lot of it. And most of the things that so his inspiration came from being a very rooted person in the Indian culture. So he loved, traveling. He loved eating. He was a foodie. He liked languages. So I think that is what the main part of advertising is, that the more you experience actual on ground, the more you talk to people, the more you experience the culture, the better you can connect with them when you write. So one thing that I think Ogilvy had posted a full pager in Times of India today, in which they had written that for Piyush Pandey, it did not matter if he got 10 awards for it, but if his maid or his neighbor did not like that idea, he did not think the idea was good.
Mhm.
So that was his audience, and he always thought about the actual people who are consuming the content and what they are thinking. So I think that is what I try to do, and all of the copywriters really who are trying to work on their craft, trying to work on their ideas. This is the main thing that we try to do. We try to think what actually the person who's looking at the ad is thinking, and that only comes from real conversations, really being on ground, talking to people, understanding their issues, understanding what they want, and talking to as many people as possible. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Hmm.
Anything else
No,
or
that's about it. Quite a sad day yesterday, but I think
yeah, I think I
life
have
moves
to
on.
go back and actually read about him because I didn't know he was celebrated so much. Uh,
Yeah,
and obviously, we know the impact of the ads on us because even today we talk about okay how the earlier ads used to
yeah, yeah.
entertain us independently, and it was not just about selling us products, but it was also telling a story, which is something obviously we appreciate. Storytelling is something that is really appreciated by people, even if they don't have the knowledge of what is being told, but they appreciate what the story is.
Mm,
And that's why sometimes I also feel that modern advertisements actually take the audience for granted. I mean, it just looks like they feel as though they don't owe the audience a
mm,
story because it's just an ad. Just sell them, apply a famous face or a popular face, try to make someone famous, do something crazy. I mean, yeah, that's one type of ad, but also I would appreciate if there are more stories told. And I think we discussed about this in a much earlier episode. It was only an audio episode where I think we talked about original writing and other things. Also, yeah, so coming to the next topic, which we wanted to talk about for such a long time because this happened, I think, 2 weeks ago. A Marathi movie named Manache Shlok was made to change the title by a community that felt that Manache Shlok was an insulting title to the actual Manache Shlok that were written by Ramdas Swami, who was
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's Marathi literature for those who don't know it, and it's a very good thing. I mean, I have read them, and they are amazing. They are like small poems that give how to live your life, and it's generally positive message. Like don't be with bad people. Don't think of people as your enemies. Try to think positive thoughts, and of course, there's some kind of connection with God, like
Mm,
keep his name, that is Sri Ram's name, in your mind. So yeah, I mean, positive message. But the community actually went to theaters and they stopped the screening. They forced the theater owners to stop the screening, and with all this controversy, then the movie makers actually changed the name to, I don't know what was the name now. What is the name now?
Tu
I think,
bolna.
yeah. And you watched it? I think you went to watch the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. I watched it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll come to you first then. I mean, your thoughts on this, and also maybe just tell us about, like, did the movie have anything to do with this topic? I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah. So, for the clarification, just the two characters in the movie who are both of the protagonists in the movie. The female is called Manva, and the male is called Shlok. So that is why
Mm.
the title of the film was Manache
Yeah.
Shlok. There is no correlation whatsoever with any of Ramdas Swami's work, or not even, the movie does not even mention Manache Shlok in the like entire sequence, and there is no relation, no political or religious dialogue is made or comment is made, nothing like that. Yes, the movie is based on the pressure that society has on individuals, but that is not related to religion or caste or political issues, nothing like that. So it made zero sense for a movie title like that to be changed, because it was just a clever wordplay. And Manache Shlok can mean 1,000 things. I don't know
Mm.
why it only means one thing for people, because it can really mean 1,000 things, but only because it's a literature, it got changed. And I think one of the talking points from the people who closed down the film in City Pride Kothurud, they said that there's a kissing scene in the movie. So it's embarrassing for, or it's insulting really for a literature work that is as great as Manache Shlok to be associated with a movie which has a kissing scene in it. So I think that was regressive really, all of the things that happened. And the second thing that I would like to say is that when you go to a theater and you're tearing down a poster, and people have paid for that movie, they've come over there, you're making the theater people stop that movie until they change the name. This is a criminal activity. You're trespassing in
Mm.
a private property, you're going there, you're closing it down by force. And if you're tearing the poster, you're making people leave, you're causing a scene, it's vandalism. You should not, uh, I think they should have been arrested firstly. But
Mm.
I think in a video I also saw that police were had come to the scene, but nothing happened. I'm not sure. I think if you guys know that, then you should, I think, pitch in here. But that was a criminal activity, and this film had already gotten a go ahead from the censor board. So
Mm.
there was no reason for them to take law in their hands and make the change that they thought was the right thing to do. So yeah, and ironically, the movie was, the movie actually did talk on the whole point how society tries to force its narrative upon individuals, and individual choice is not appreciated.
Hmm.
So it was ironic when I watched the movie. I kind of, there were a lot of dialogues that talked about this, and then I knew that this had happened. So yeah, I kind of feel bad, but I also feel like the movie should have come out, so they had to change the name,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I think for a lot of time, or for a lot of movies recently, we've seen that a lot of communities or a lot of groups have started protesting, or uh, just starting a trend online to ban certain movies. And we eventually see that filmmakers, even like, they give in to the pressure and they fear the backlash, so they bring some sort of changes. Like in this case, they change the entire name. But coming down to the fundamentals of it, I think these groups or these communities, they don't do it because it has hurt their sentiments or their religion. Of course, like, maybe some people might think that, but a lot of the people that do this, that's my personal opinion, it is to assert power and to gain clout in the community, that hey, we are, we have this much of power, we can shut down anything that we feel that we want. And it's not mainly, or a lot of times, it's not because they're actually offended, it's just that they want to get noticed. uh, it's just, I mean, that's what I feel. And India has a lot of religions. Within religions, we have a lot of castes, so it is very easy for any sect or any small group of people to find something that is offensive in some movie or some art form, that offends their people, that or offends their whoever that they idolize, or that offends their own people. And because they have a lot of emotional connections to it and stuff. But instead of having a debate or a conversation or an open dialogue as to why, or like, why this offends you, or going to the filmmaker and asking, why did you do this, or is this connected to this, they just resort to these violent measures or things that, like, taking the law in their own hand. because they get offended too quickly. And social media also kind of makes this worse, because you see a lot of people spreading their agenda online, and people who have not even watched the movie or don't even have any idea of the context, they just jump into the bandwagon, into the comments like, hey, yes, ban this movie, this offends us, this offends this offends that, without even uh, thinking too much about what actually it offends, or why it should be banned, or going to the censor or whatever. Like, there are a lot of other things that you can do before actually going and taking the law in your own hands. So I feel that this is it ultimately comes down to nowadays to people, and a lot of it lies in our own hands how we deal with such issues. But unfortunately, I think we now live in a very sensitive or a very attention seeking community that just wants to do things like this to, I don't know, to assert power or to stay in the news or whatever. But it's just become a trend now, especially in recently with a lot of movies.
Yeah, also, I think the point that whatever they did was actually illegal, because you can actually be offended, you can post videos, you can even perhaps take permission and protest against something, and that is actually very fine. And it's up to the movie makers to understand the sentiments and then decide whether they should change the name or not, and that is a much more respectful process. But right now, because majority of our country is religious and is uh, you know they don't see this as a uh, pressure against freedom, because that's the norm. This is something that will the whole system also. I mean, it's not like all Marathi Hindus actually agreed with what they did. I'm not saying that it's them versus us, because a lot of my own family members actually did not accept that, and they said that it's kind of ridiculous, because even though they are of that community, they understand that it had nothing to do with the literature, and it could have been a better thing if they actually promoted the literature with the hype of the movie and said like, okay, this was the original thing and you should read about it. But they didn't, and the whole system actually supports this because there is little resistance from people who are not of that community, because we believe in dialogue. So we actually believe in talking about uh, what they did was wrong, like we are doing right now. But if we were of the same mentality, perhaps then we would have also gone in and taken some violent actions, and then we would have been jailed, because obviously our country right now does not accept this when it comes from people who are not from the majority. So I think it's not just our country, it works in every country that favors one side over the other currently. Even if it comes down to, okay, perhaps in UK you must have heard that a lot of the government actually supports a bit left side right now. So they might get some favorable conditions, but obviously rules are not broken there in the way that we do. And it's not just for this movie, it also mostly happens almost everywhere. Like the stand-up comedians, that location was broken down and no one actually got jailed for that. I mean, it doesn't matter what the crime was committed for. If it is illegal, there should at least be some action. I mean, I would have been happy with that, but obviously that doesn't happen. And just talking about changing the movie name, so it is very disappointing that this happens, and not it's not even a headline throughout the country that an art had to change the thing that they created because there was violence and threat from the other side. And I don't want that. Would I say the movie maker perhaps should have been a bit more, not aware about this? Maybe he was aware about this, that there exists a Marathi literature like this, and perhaps he also thought that if I have this name, the Marathi community already knows this name, So it's much more familiar, because no one can, I mean, we can't really accept that he came up with Manache Shlok and he actually doesn't know about Manache Shlok. He obviously knows about it. And he obviously thought that, okay, if I name the movie this, it's like a, much more familiar name for my own audience. So there was this, I think there must have been this thought as well. But again, if you are offended, then that awareness should have been there. You can actually criticize whatever your legitimate thoughts are. And I actually, our own classmate from our college days, who was with us in mass communication and journalism that we did, he actually posted a video, right? Because he is now working with that kind of community, and he then talked about how you should not watch this film because it kind of insults this. And I was like, yeah, it's ridiculous, but you have the right to do it. But you don't have the right to go and forcefully do something and take law in hand, because you're not law enforcers, and
Yeah.
because you're not, you know, you are no one to actually force someone to change a thing. You can make people aware so that there are more people with you that then force someone to change it because of that awareness. Because frankly, if you ask me, I was a bit offended when there was another movie, Deul Banda, which is also a very famous movie amongst the Marathi audience, which actually shows that there is a magical presence that guides this scientist to get all the answers he wants. And science has been looked down upon in that movie, where science is just shown as another thing that humans have created that only gives us, okay, this many answers, but what about the other answers that science can't give? So obviously there's this bigger magical thing that exists above science, and then the scientist, who is very skeptical and he's kind of an atheist, then goes on to believe in the magical thing. So which is kind of offensive, because you don't understand what science is, you don't understand what it does, and it's wrong messaging. Because I believe, and there are studies about it, that if you have no faith in the methodology of science, you kind of invite a lot of misinformation in the community and misinformation in the entire nation. And then anyone can say anything and you still believe, because then there comes the authority issues. So you believe a person rather than believing actual facts. So I was offended with that. But I can't actually go and force the creator to say change your story, because this is completely against the progress of society, and it is going to hamper the progress of our nation for the next 50 years, because it's going to be more difficult to convince people that this does not happen, because now they're going to use your movie to convince me that something exists. So, but yeah, I mean, I can just talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I just wanted to talk a bit about the Central Board of Film Certification, because while I was reading up on it, this issue, I read up on the CBFC and its history, and I'll just try to make it as short as I can. So basically, to give a movie a rating, like U, UA, A, and S, according to which audiences are classified, who is allowed to watch which movie and who is allowed to not watch a movie. That is their job. But recently, it has happened that they have started to take the law in their hand as well, like the uh, people that we just talked about. And they have started to censor things and ban things as per their wish, without any set guidelines or without any rules, which are equal for everyone. So I was just reading up on the whoever has been the chairman and stuff like that. So right now it's Prasoon Joshi, who is very well known among the Indian film community and all. But before him, there was a guy named Pahlaj Ni Pahlaj Nailani. Yeah, he became the chairperson in 2015, and the year before that, he had created a campaign for the ruling party, Har Har Modi, Ghar Ghar Modi, and stuff like that. Now, soon after he became the chairman, he started to bring in new, censorship guidelines, like banning curse words in A certified, adult certified movies, and removing content that could hurt religious sentiments, and discouraging violence against women and stuff like that. And he also talked about profanity and nudity in films. He criticized gangs of Wasepur and Omkara for their language, and he called for censorship of Sunny Leone as well. He also thought that a movie like PK should not have been made. And he also, I think there was a protest by FTIS students against the appointment of Gajendra Chauhan, who is a
Yeah.
BJP person. He labeled them anti-nationals. He even in 2017 he banned intercourse from Jab Harry Met Sejal, and he said that Indians are not ready for such progressiveness. Then later that year he was sacked from his position because he refused to clear a movie named Hindu Sarkar, which was a movie about the emergency period. Before this guy, it's not even just about the ruling party. Like, it's not even because he was supporting the ruling party and whatever they thought were the religious sentiments. Even before that, the chairman was someone named Leela Sampson, who is a Bharatnatyam dancer, and she was the chairperson in 2011. She was close to the Nehru Gandhi family, and she was Priyanka Gandhi's dance teacher. After being appointed as the chairman, she claimed that she rarely even watches films. And during her tenure, she allowed Amir Khan's PK to be released without cuts. And despite the Vishwa Hindu Parishad opposing that it hurts religious sentiments, but she also made cuts to the movie Entertainment after Muslim groups said that it is offensive to them. She also made cuts to the movie called Kamal Dhamal Mala Mal following objections from the Christian groups. And when she personally assured that I have taken the actions and everything, she resigned from her position after a movie called MSG, if you know, Messenger of God, was released and it was cleared to be aired without any kind of cuts and everything. Now, this is not even about the ruling party or whatever. Whichever party is in charge, they try to take control of films, and these people who are clearly very uneducated about the industry are held or are put into a position to take decisions. Right. Now, recently we have watched in movies, like we went to watch F1 where the middle finger emoji was censored. We watched the movie called Weapons, where the section of alcohol was blurred from the movie. Even in the recent Superman movie, the kissing scenes were censored, right? So then, why does a certification board hold so much of power that they can just decide things on their own? And there are no guidelines or anything in place that should be uniform for every movie, because we watched a movie called Animal, which had so much of violence, which was a misogynistic film, get released without any kind of cuts or anything. They were like, this is okay for the audiences to watch, but a harmless middle finger emoji, Indian audiences are not ready for that. Arshad Warsi even said when Animal came out that movies are meant to be enjoyed; they're not for educational purposes and stuff like that. So why? Like, my only question here is that when you are the board, uh, you are the ones handing out certifications, then just make the system so strong that when you give a movie a rating, only adults can watch that movie. And adults, as we know, are like, they should be okay with watching any kind of content because they are wise enough to take their own decisions. If your reasoning is that in India minors, children, anyone can get into entry into adult movies, then that just means that your system is failing and you are allowing entry for these people to watch the movies. You cannot take decisions because some child might get an entry into an adult movie. You have to actually take decisions so that a child cannot get entry, and whatever movie you have given a certification for is only watched by adults. So I think people are part of a problem, but this board is also a major part of the problem, and the kind of things they are controlling with people who are clearly very much influenced by the political and religious issues, that is also a major part of the freedom of expression or the art forms in India that is currently taking place, and why movies are getting banned or censored or any kind of art forms. Artists are afraid to make those decisions because people who are sitting here are actually, I don't know, something is clearly very wrong here.
There should be a standard process at least, because like you said, even if you favor Christians or Muslims, that's still not okay. And I know that perhaps a lot of, you know, left leaning people sometimes say that, that's more okay, and then don't agree with the other thing, and that again pushes separation even more, because then clear bias, okay, you have bias towards minority. Like, again, there is context matters a lot, because I wouldn't say that don't censor anything, because country by country things are going to matter. But the thing is how you progress slowly, and we are not seeing that progress at all in the last 20-25 years, whereas we actually saw a lot of progress in earlier movies, where
Yeah.
in 60s and 70s there was messaging against the normal society thinking that was there was nudity as well, there was romance, and there, I mean, but then in the last 25-30 years, too much things have been censored in the name of protection to the audience, which is just not the case. I know movies matter, and in India, we've talked about this, movies matter a lot, but they don't matter so much that they're going to change the entire thinking of a person. It's going to contribute to something, but then you have to realize, as a board, I would rather say that, like you said, I mean, there has to be a standard process where you look at, is this movie deliberately pushing any stereotypes or false stereotypes? Then I will try to make them change the things. And that's why you need people with knowledge, when a movie can actually push stereotypes, but then in that movie there is a character that pushes these stereotypes, and the movie is kind of not justifying this, then you can allow it. But then if an entire movie is just made to push narratives and unproven stereotypes, then you can step in and say, at least provide us some proof that this is true, because this could affect the way people are thinking about the other community. And that's why context and everything matters so much, and I hope that this happens, because we need good movies, man. I mean, sometimes people like us just can't enjoy. I mean, I don't go to theaters anymore for new movies, because I just think that they're not going to be for me, and that's not a good attitude. But still, yeah. Do
Yeah.
anything. I think you've been silent for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think what I wanted to say was what like, exactly what Vedan said, that we need a better set of guidelines to drive this censorship at least, because I think the same issue had happened with Padmavati also
Hmm.
a long time back.
They
They
changed
just
this to
made,
Padmavat. They changed
yeah,
it to
they just
Padmavat.
changed Padmavati from Padmavat, and nothing from the movie really changed. It was about Queen Padmavati. In fact, the movie, of course, they give a disclaimer in the start that it's not based on real people, but we know that it's about Queen Padmavati, and the film was named Padmavati, later changed to Padmavat. So I think this small change really does not change what the messaging of the movie is. So if these people really want to push this narrative that uh, they want to encourage a better dialogue about our culture, they want to make our culture the centerpiece of things. I understand this. If you are treasuring your culture, that's all right. If religion, culture, traditions are important to you, that's all right. But there are so many better ways to do it, and just changing a name is not going to have that impact, because even with Manache Shlok, nothing from the movie has changed. Only the title has changed, but it sparked such a controversy. And now people are going to remember it as, I mean, at least like Avnish and I were talking a few days ago, there are some people who are always on the fence about what kind of opinion to have. So for the people on the fence, I think this controversy has sparked that, this this radicalism of these people, that they are making a film, just change its name without any context to what the film is showing. They're just changing the name, and then they're happy. Even the woman who vandalized the theater, in the theater, it's on video that she says that we just want the name to be changed and nothing else, because this name is offensive to us.
Hmm.
So we will tear down this theater if you run another show of this film with this name, because no matter what it is offensive to us. I don't care what's in the film. I don't care what you are showing. I don't care who actor is there. The name is offensive to us. So this makes no sense. If you want to do this fight, there are better ways to do it, and you can have a better impact. But I think this did more damage to these people than
Yeah.
it did to the movie, honestly. So Yeah.
Yeah, because some of the points I kind of even agree what they were talking about. Because again, when a literature is such an important part of our culture, because now we also have to address the fact that the new generation or people born after 2000, where the family is not quite orthodox or the family is not quite religious, they actually don't know all of these things, and they are kind of very detached from our older literature. So these guys, it's very natural to feel as though their identity is being lost because the modern world actually doesn't care about them, which is true in some fact as well. And even the director, when he named this movie, I think that he is detached from the importance of this literature again. And whatever your points are, like, yeah, this literature should be celebrated, which is not. And then you are making a movie out of it, and then you're using this name to actually bring people in theaters or something like that. Completely agreed. I mean, but the efforts, then, like you said, the efforts should then actually be to promote this and say that, okay, this is good and you should explore this literature that we have. And I think this is not the topic, but we discussed this, that this messaging can be so easy if they consider these stories as literature, because they consider this as God said truth. It becomes a fight between God and non-believers. But if we celebrate it as our literature, it will be so much easier to tell even foreigners who come here and say that this is what we have. Look at the rich literature and rich thinking that we have from hundreds of years ago, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not, but this is something that we pride on because it's incredible. And it is incredible because everyone appreciates that, who thinks logically. They know and they appreciate that. But because we take it as truth and ultimate truth, then it becomes about, if you don't believe it, you are someone who is against it. So then it's very difficult to
Yeah.
then talk about this with people
Well,
who
I
don't know
think
this.
to add to your point, I think we have also discussed this in the past that because people consider this as history and the truth and
Mm.
not, maybe something that happened or not, uh, we have so much of good mythology that could actually be created into such good content, but we are only focused on Ramayana. Like every time you see,
Yeah.
it's just a new version of Ramayana or a new series or whatever. But we actually never have explored about the other pieces of our religion or whatever. And I think that we have discussed this, that it won't ever even be explored. Like something like Mahabharata, to be made in today's time, if you want to make it a trilogy or a movie, the director will have a, like, nobody would actually even bother to take so much of efforts, because right from the casting, people will start digging into, like, why did you cast Ranveer Singh as Arjun? He has done this in the past, he has kissed this one, Arjun doesn't do that. Or if you cast Deepika as Draupadi, then she is vulgar. Like almost every actor or actress has had a vulgar scene, I mean, things that people
Yeah.
term vulgar, something that they can find offensive. So no actor or actress is actually suitable in terms of the audience to play these characters, and then no director or filmmaker actually wants to take those efforts to convert our rich mythology into content which would actually be so good for the industry and for
Yeah.
even the like people from other countries to watch and learn about India. But sadly it's never going to happen, and I feel going forward maybe directors or filmmakers are also going to be cautious about what kind of content they make, about more about how this can offend someone rather than how this can suit my film better. And we may
Yeah.
also have new certifications issued, like a movie made just for people who find everything offensive, it has nothing offensive in it, and a rating for people who are okay with anything, watching anything, or the same movie being released in two different cuts, one which has nothing offensive and one which people are okay to watch. So we may even see this happen in the future, who knows, because the way things are going, you can't really guarantee anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think also art historically has been pegged as as a thing that kind of spikes these emotions in people. There are always two sectors that happen when an art piece is released. There is a radical, a pro kind of community, and there is an anti community. So I think art will always do that whenever something comes out. But of late, I think there has been a lot of resistance on the side of artists, from the side of artists, so as to not release such stuff, or eventually bend to the rules of the anti people, and only make things that are accepted by the majority, and not by the people who are actually appreciating what the art really is. And I think that is where we are lacking. It's fine that art gets criticized, but it's also important that good artists, good directors, writers, they keep making art that appeals uh, to the smaller audience,
Yeah, yeah,
that actually appreciates that art, that actually understands what kind of messaging is being taken forward. And that hate that will come from the majority is not, um, you cannot escape that. That has been happening for ages.
yeah,
But this grit that a person has to have to release that kind of art, to keep making it, to keep having this dialogue, to keep pushing criticism away, not pushing criticism away, but more like having an artwork that actually points to a problem in the society. That
Yeah.
is where I think we are lacking today. People have become very scared. And
I,
I think it's also fair. I cannot say that you don't think about your family, or you don't think about your safety, and just release whatever you
yeah.
want to do, or just keep making whatever you want to do. That is unfair for them also. But like Vedant said, I think it is the system problem more than a people problem. I'm talking about the artists as well as the people who are criticizing every piece of art that comes out. The government or the system should make better efforts for the artists to come out and release their work, because it's important. And it's also a recognition for India, because so many pieces, so many movies are globally recognized, which were groundbreaking in at the time that they were released. There are so many films like this. Even a recent film called Third came out, which was a thing about arranged marriage. So basically, how arranged marriages happen in villages. So I think that was a great piece of work, and only because it wasn't political or it was not related to religion, I think it did not get censored. But I think these films, so many Marathi films, I would say, are recognized globally, because they make such a great point about society, about the way that minds function. And that is what is I think coming to a little bit of a lull in the recent few years, I would say. But yeah, I think people like us should keep talk about it, and maybe someone will watch our podcast and say, yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
release that work that I've been
And
working.
this also reminds me that recently a movie has come out by Paresh Rawal
Oh
questioning
my
the
god,
Taj
yeah.
Mahal. And in the movie he says that, uske niche mandir bhi ho whatever, like that is completely fine. But then again, the double standards that I was talking about earlier by the certification board, that you can openly say things like these in the movie because they have, I think, clarified that they're not claiming anything, they are just questioning stuff like this. So then, but if it was the other way around about the Ram Mandir or something like that, then would just questioning be allowed to be aired publicly to people across the country? So again, it just makes me laugh because that movie is so funny.
Yeah,
And
and I think it's not even just a question, because on the poster itself, Paresh Rawal is literally lifting the dome from Taj
yeah,
Mahal, and a statue of a goddess or god is coming out of it. So
yeah,
again, and
it's not suggestive, it's
India
very
has
direct.
only one wonder of the world like that, and you
Yeah,
are just, I mean, even the pollution, I think, has started to damage the Taj Mahal over the last
yeah,
few
the
years. The walls
marbles
are turning
get
yellow, so we
damaged.
are
Yeah,
actively destroying that, and now we are also destroying the credibility and reputation of it.
yeah.
Why will the world not laugh and judge us, like if we are doing stuff like this? It's just so
yeah.
funny.
I think, yeah, we need another episode to discuss how politicians use this history of
Mm.
us to divide us more, and kind of say that whatever the Mughals did actually relates to the current Muslim problem, which
Hmm.
often gets, and that's why this Taj Mahal thing as well, because for us, perhaps even though it was, maybe there is proof that it is built upon a temple, but then so what, like, okay, that's the history. This, we know that this king was actually cruel anyways, and he did it. I mean, it won't surprise us that if he has done that. But then, all right, if we want to honor that mandir, then, I mean, we tear down this part of history and then build the next, and that's what he did. He tore down that part of history and built his own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, it's a debate that we have to have. But yeah, I think last point, I don't know if it is true, but just we were talking about how art also speaks to power often. So when I was young, I had learned that the incarnation of Lord Ram was actually or happened because, of course, one reason was to end Ravan, but the other reason was that the Kshatriyas were very cruel in at that time. They had gotten very cruel because of Parshuram. So, like, Parshuram was a warrior king who unleashed hell because his mother and parents were killed by Kshatriyas. So he announced war on all Kshatriyas, and he started killing. And because, just to end that, he got tired, but he is a Chiranjeevi, I think, so he
Hmm.
immortal. So he just left, and then he left a world that was chaos and aggressive and just about warrior blood. But then Ram was incarnated to show the Kshatriyas that Kshatriyas are not just about war. They should be someone who respects and protects the society. So his role was to go against the current norm and show that there is a better way to do things. And if we take that as literature, then it makes perfect sense, because perhaps at that time, whoever published the Ramayana, his attempt was to show people that there is a better way to do things and just not have wars every every whatever, consistently, just be peaceful. That was the basic thing. But yeah, all right, I think we had a few more topics, but we've taken a lot discussing this, as I thought. Perhaps next time, I think one of it was why I relate to this Zoran Mamdani guy, and
Because he's an
why.
Arsenal fan.
Yeah, major reason is he's an Arsenal
Yeah,
fan, and minor reason is that he is kind of, makes
he's a
sense.
good
He
guy.
makes sense. He's
Yeah.
a normal, decent person who makes sense when he comes
Yeah,
in front of the camera.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And the other was, I don't know, my friend who is not here,
okay.
she said that I expected a twist when you shared a few things with me, and I just shared a thing that blew my mind. And she said, "Oh, there's no twist, there's no shock. I thought there was more to it." And then I said we should discuss how we all now need a spoiler, like a twist and
Yeah,
climax, and that's why people say don't spoil this movie for me, because it's like, what's the point if I'm not shocked at the
yeah.
end? But
I'm
I have,
probably the wrong person to discuss this with.
yeah, because you literally gatekeep even the most normal conversation because you want this
Yeah,
big effect.
yes.
I
Um,
think that's the reason, Avnish, I reacted the way that I did, because I just expect storytelling to happen in the way that you usually do. The way that you tell us stories. That's kind of insane,
That's
and
how
yeah,
I
it's meant to
expected
be.
that from that message, and it did not come across. So, sorry.
Yeah.
and
Actually, the things you hype about are the most basic things, and the things you just tell us randomly on a
Yeah,
Tuesday afternoon are just the most insane things I've ever heard in my life.
true.
subscribe for that then. If you don't like our content, subscribe for who I am. All right, I'm actually very tired, because in order to not distract you from this cloth, I switched off my fan, so I'm
Same.
very hot right now. All right, yeah, we're done.
This part will be censored.
Yes.
Even I've turned off my fan.
This part will be censored as
Dedication.
well.
things
Yeah.
people do for hobbies that they think will change the world, or is it just me? Yes, maybe. All right, we are done. Thank you for being here, Vedant, Zui, and we'll meet next time. As always, if you want to subscribe and understand, so if you want to understand how systems behind content and information and media works, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also follow me on Instagram and leave your comment if you have anything. All right, until next time.